What's up guys, welcome to my channel. Today we will create a basic RESTful API in Node Red. We will do the basic CRUD operations, create, read, update, and delete. And also as an extra, we will create the bulk insert. That is an insert where you pass an array of objects and then you insert each of these objects in your database. Okay, so let's start. First, as we will fetch, update, and delete our objects, we need to create the creation endpoint first so we can test the others. So how you do this here in Node Red? You get the HTTP in block. That is a block that creates an endpoint for you. Okay, so double click. As we will create the creation endpoint, the method will be post and the URL will be /users, as I will insert users in this case. Done. And then the next will be get this request here and connect to a storage service. In my case, I'm using Cloudant, that is a storage service from IBM Cloud. So I will get this block Cloudant out. As you can see here, it's a block to store a message in a chosen database. So I will get, and then double click. This my Cloudant service is selected, and then we will type the database name. In this case, in Cloudant, I can choose a database name, for example, API users API, and then if this database does not exist, it will create it for me. Okay. So users API, we will do the insert operation. We will store only the message.payload object. That is basically the body of our post request. So it doesn't need a name, so done. And now I need just to connect the request to the storage service here. Okay, our creation endpoint is created. And to test this, I need to create a list endpoint to get all the objects in the database. So HTTP in block again, double click. Now will be the get method because we will list all the users. So the URL will also be /users. Done. Now I can get my Cloudant block again. In this case will be Cloudant in because we will search for the users. So let me get, okay. Now I need to connect my request to the Cloudant block, and I will get other block that is called HTTP response and connect it with the Cloudant service. Let me double click. No, I don't need to do nothing here. Okay, double click in Cloudant. My Cloudant service is selected. The database name is users API, and I will search by all documents. So it will give me all the documents that were saved in this case. Okay, done. So I think we can test this for now. So let me just align here. There's no way to align. Okay, there it is. So as we are finished here, we can deploy our app. Success. And then as we need to do a post request, you need to download some program that can emulate a post request for you. In my case, I'm using Postman. That it's super easy to use Postman, and I recommend. So you can download it here. You can download it in your PC and then use it to do the request we will do now. So I will choose post. Let me get the base URL. That is this one. Okay, paste it here, and then /users is our route. As our HTTP in block expects, as our Cloudant block expects a message payload object, we will need to pass this object in the body of our request. So I will choose raw and JSON, that is the full format for APIs. And then I will pass just a name property for our user that, I put its name as user1. So okay, let's try to do this post. It's taking some time. Let's see if I will get a response. No, I will not get a response. I remembered that. Wait, let me cancel. I remembered that I need to send a response till I get a response. So I will send as a response the same thing that I received. Okay, this is this ligation. So let me deploy again. Okay, let's test again. Okay, so now we received 200 status. Okay, so to test if our user was inserted, I will do another request. Let me get the URL here. So the base URL / users get method. Let's do this. And then we have our 2 users that were inserted. So okay, our creation endpoint is working, and the index, that is the list endpoint, is also working. So what we need to do now, we can create the delete endpoint, for example. So let's create it here, HTTP in, double click, the delete will be, we use the delete method, and the URL will be /users, and we're done. Let me get the Cloudant block again. In this case I will remove, so double click here, database name is users API, operation remove. Done. Let me get the response object, HTTP response. I will send as response the same thing that I will receive. And to get this delete operation working, the Cloudant block expects that you put the ID of your, for example, user here in the payload, and also the have, that is a revision property that changes when you change your object in the database. So I think I can connect this here because we will send this data here through the body, so it's okay. So let me create one more request, /users delete method. The body will be, let me get this one here just to help, all JSON underline ID. Let me copy this one, and have will be, let me get from here, paste. Okay, now let me finish the endpoint here. Okay, delete. We'll send the same request. We'll send the request as response, and we will also delete from the database. Okay, so let's deploy. Successfully deployed. Let's go to Postman. So we have 2 users, one with ID 033 and another 3E6. So let's check if this solution will work. Okay, 200 status okay, and let's list again, and the user was deleted. Okay, so let's create our next endpoint. That will be update. So HTTP in, double click, method will be put, and just as a warning, you cannot use patch to update a record with the Cloudant service. I don't know why, but you can just use the put method, and you need to pass the entire object of your entity to update it. Okay, so you cannot pass, for example, if your object has two properties, you need to pass the two properties even if just one changed. Okay, so URL will be /users. This is an update, right? So yes, /users put method done. Let's get the Cloudant block. We will delete, so the out block is what we need. Update. So double click, choose insert. Okay, users API done. Connect the request to the block. Let me send as response the same thing I'm receiving, and I think we're done here for now. Let me just deploy. Okay, let's create one more request. But method /users, and in the body, let me just see here, listing. Okay, we get this ID, and in the body raw JSON, I will pass the ID here, and also the have property. Let me get it here, copy, paste, and then I will insert another property that, I will change the name of the user. So name will now be equal to user1 edited. Let's try to see if this works. Okay, 200 status. Let me list the user again. And it's not working now. So I need to remember what we need to do here. User1 edited, ID, have, let me remember what I need to do here. Put /users name, insert users API, only store message.payload object. I think I forgot to select this. Done. Let me deploy again. Let me see if this will work. List. Okay, now let's update and list again. And there we are. The record is updated. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to create an endpoint to get only one user, because now we are getting all the users in this endpoint. So let's create it. HTTP in block, double click, it will be the get method, the URL will be /users /2.id. So we will pass the ID of the user in the URL, and then we will get it. Okay, so done. Let me get the Cloudant block. We will search. Double click, users API, search by ID. Yes, search by ID. Done. Now in this case, as I will send, let me create a request here. Duplicate tab. Okay. Users and users /2.id, and I can put the ID here. So for example, let me list this again. I will get this ID, and I will send it here. It could be here also, removing 2.id. It can be here, but I like to do it this way. 2.id, and then put the value of this pattern here. And then in this case, the ID will be in the request in the params property. I will debug here till you see debug. Let me connect it here just so we see the bug here, and then let me just deploy to do this request. So let's send. Oh, sorry, I forgot the response block. HTTP response and connect here. Okay, deploy. So send. Okay, 200 status. And I forgot to display the complete message object. Deploy. Let me send again. Okay, so look here. When I send the ID as a param, I get it from hack params. Okay, so the ID is here. So I need to get this ID from the params and put in the payload of the message. So we will do this with JavaScript. Okay, so let me clear. How we do this here? So let me put this block here. The response will be what we will get from the database. So let me connect here. Okay, so we need to get the function block. That is a block that permits us to use JavaScript in Node Red. Okay, so I will get the request and pass to the function. Let me double click here. And what we will do in this function is to get the ID from the params and put it in the payload. Okay, so the name of this function will be put ID on message payload. Okay, and the function is here. Message is a variable that has exactly what we had here before I clear. That is all the properties: hack, request, payload, and etc. So what we need to do, we need to do message dot payload dot underline ID, and I will set it to message dot hack dot params dot ID, as we are sending with the name ID here. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. So done, and I will get the output of this function, that is our edited message object, and I will send to the database. Okay, so let's test this. Let me deploy. Okay, let's test. Let me list here first. So we have this user inserted. So let me send the request, and there we go. The user is here. 3E6, 3E6, 2 dash, and 2 dash. So okay, our endpoint is created, and now the last thing I need to do is to create the book insert. If you look to this endpoint, we are creating only one user, and if I try to pass an array, for example, let me create an array here and create an object, name user2, and then try to create other object, name user3, and do the post. I receive the 200 status because of the way I programmed it here, but the request fails in the Cloudant service, as you are seeing here. So Cloudant does not accept an array to insert. So we need to send a message to insert in the Cloudant service, and then send another message according to the length of this array. So we will do this with JavaScript. Okay, so let's go. We will need to get the function block again. Let me move this here. Let me delete this connection. And what we will do in this function, we will basically get the request payload that will be this array, okay, and then we will send multiple requests to the Cloudant service. So how we do this here? The name of the function will be parse message.payload and send multiple requests. So what we will do, I will create a variable here and call it new message. I will assign to the current message, and I will check if message.payload, I forgot one thing here, if array.isArray message payload, I will check if the payload is an array. If it is an array, I will create a different message. I will say that new message will be equal to, I open an array and then put inside message.payload. This will create an array like this one here. So I have an array and then I will have another array inside it, okay? So what will happen in this case? I will send, as we have here, an array with an array inside. These objects inside the inner array will be each a message that will be sent to the output 1 of this function. So how can you interpret this? We can make, for example, I will set the outputs to 2 here, and I will click on done. And look to what happens. The function has 2 outputs. So what I'm trying to do, let me back to one output. Oh, sorry, one output. What I'm trying to do with this code, returning the message as this, I'm saying I want to send 2 messages in the output 0, or in the first output, that is because this function only has one output. So I want to send 2 messages, each of these objects, in the output, in the first output. So if my function has 2 outputs, I could do this. I could say to it, send 2 messages to the output 1 and then send 2 messages to the output 2. So from here we'll go 2 messages, and from here we'll go 2 messages, okay? So as my function has, I want it to has only one output, I want to say in this output send 2 requests, okay? So what I need to return is this, an array that in the first position of this array I have another array that contains the 2 messages. So as this array is in the first position, the only output the function has will receive these 2 requests, these 2 messages, okay? So let me delete this, and then I think we're done with this. So let me connect the request to the function and then get the function output and pass it to the Cloudant service. So let me deploy. Okay, let me list the users. Okay, so I have only one user, and let me create 2 more users. Okay, so let me do the post request, 200 status, let me list, and we don't have nothing now. So what happened? Let me see. We received again the 400 status. Let me see if I do something wrong here. New message. Oh, I'm returning the message object. No, I want to return the new message. Sorry for this. Deploy again. Let's do the list. Okay, so let's create. Okay, list. There we are. Payload undefined. So okay, so we created the two objects, but something got wrong here. An array with two objects. I suspect of what it is. Okay, so I needed to stop to analyze the situation, and I discovered that the problem is just the format of the message. So if you look here, I mark it to store only the message payload. But when we send multiple requests, I'm sending just an object that has the name property and its value, but this is not a message, because a message usually would include the payload property and then the object that you need to insert or to delete or whatever. So this is missing here. I create an array, and okay, inside it I will need to create another array, but the elements of this array, that is the message, need to have this payload property, and then the user inside this payload property. So that's what I need to do here. So let me delete, and I will write message.payload.map. So the map function will look over the elements of this array and create a new array using the what I will return to create the element. So map, I will receive the user, and I will create a new object. I will need to put this parenthesis. I will create a new object that has the payload property, and the value of this property is the user. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. Message payload map user, and an object that has the payload property and the user as its value. Okay, that's it. So done. Let me deploy. We're storing only the message payload. So let me check. I removed the other users, and we have just the user wanted it in here. And let me try to insert and list, and it's there. Two more users, and you can pass any you want. So that's what we had today, guys. Basically, this is what I wanted to construct with you. It's incredible how easy it is to create this API here. Just some blocks with some properties, and you are done. Your API is up and running. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, thanks for your time, and bye bye.